I was at the Texas-Georgia game, up close and personal, celebrities everywhere. Kevin Durant brought the entire Phoenix Suns team down. Matthew McConaughey, Glenn Powell, Joe Rogan, stand on sidelines with all these guys. The energy was electric. Drone shows, light shows, you name it, Texas had it. You just felt like, man, this is like the biggest game at Texas Memorial Stadium ever. 1 versus 5. Golly, and we just didn't go out there and play good. Carson Beck threw 3 picks in this game, and they scored 30 points, and we lost. Bad loss. Their offense didn't play good. Our offense stunk. Our defense got put in some horrible spots, but actually overall I felt like played really good. Like, they're a pretty dominant defense. They created turnovers. They got some stops. We just gave them the ball in scoring range almost every time. We got hit in the mouth. We got to regroup. We'll figure out what kind of team we are moving forward. But the DNA, the culture that Coach Sark has built, like, as a fan, I'm not worried about it. I just think we got to go back to playing good football, which we didn't do. From the quarterback position, from the offensive line position, from the just across the board. Let's not point our fingers at anybody. Let's just strap it up, go play. We got a road game at Vanderbilt this week. Like, we can still have all of our goals in front of us. We could still win the SEC. We could still make the 12-team playoff. But we got punched in the mouth on Saturday night.
The uniqueness of the playoffs now, there's going to be some 2-loss teams, I think, that get into the playoff, right? So, like, there's no reason to panic. You got 1 loss. You strap it back up and you regroup. But listen, you're right. I mean, you could see there were some nerves. Obviously, it's a heavyweight battle. When you pull your quarterback just to get a little momentum shift because you feel like he's a little too nervy, right? Like, that's a tough battle because when you see these 1 versus 2 matchups or these 1 versus any top 5 or top 10 matchup, it's whoever comes out and punches you in the mouth first. And then if that team can regroup and get back to work and maybe answer, then you got a chance. I felt like all game long they were pressing, right? Like, I felt like from the get-go, Texas was pressing. They make the move at quarterback. Their 2 tackles who were supposed to be first-round picks, right? Like, they struggled all game long. You're relying on those guys as a quarterback to not deal with pressure, and he's under heavy pressure all game long. The 2 pass rushers on Georgia were the 2 best players in the football game, and that's what it all came down to in my eyes.
I still think Quinn is good. He didn't see the field well. He gets hit by a corner blitz. You got to know where that guy's coming from. And he throws a ball into a 2-trap corner on a simple out route. Like, those are things where you're just a little bit off. You're not seeing it. Like, he can help the offensive line. There's a lot of times in this game where he can step up. He can move in the pocket. He can run. He can do some things that are going to help that pass rush slow down. But number 13 for Georgia was everywhere in this game. But overall, I think Sark does a great job. This team is very well built. O-line and D-line are still extremely good players. They've been dominant all year. They had a little off night. Like, one thing just added on to another. But it's a good wake-up call for us, and hopefully, we'll regroup and figure out a way to put a nice little plan together on the road this week.
College football is getting exactly what they wanted, right? With the power SEC, right, and the power Big Ten, you're getting matchups like this much more than you would have in any other year, right? Like, when you get now USC obviously is down, but like, you get a Penn State USC, you get an Oregon Ohio State, you get Penn State, Ohio State here in a couple weeks. You get Bama, Georgia. You get Texas, Georgia, Texas, Bama, right? Like, it's all these matchups that are creating these competitive games early on in the season, which is allowing for a 1-loss, maybe even a 2-loss team to kind of sneak in at 10, 11, and 12. And whenever you get that, you never know what's going to happen because all you got to do is get in the dance, right? It's just like the Super Bowl, right?
That's it.
And whenever the New York Giants win the Super Bowl at an 8-8 team or whatever they were, right, a 7-9 team, you just got to get in the dance, and whoever's playing hottest at the end has a chance.
Yeah, when I look at college football right now, I look at a bunch of teams at like 1 through 6 or 7 it could go either way. Ohio State, Oregon. I'll even throw Penn State in the mix. Texas, Georgia. Alabama's already a 2-loss team, so they got to be careful. But there's a lot of teams that I feel like it could go either way. So where does Texas go from here? Texas just got to regroup, get ready, understand like nothing's really changed on your path to win the SEC. But I was talking to some guys the other day, and this is what I'm kind of sneaky excited about. It's a 12-team playoff because there's a chance if you don't win the SEC, you're going to host a playoff game at your own stadium. Like, that would be the biggest game ever because of the implications of now the 12-team playoff, which is incredible. Obviously, we didn't play good at home. Got to figure that part out. But nothing's dead. Looking at you guys, Penn State off a bye, little trap game coming up this weekend?
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about this one, honestly. Like, I felt really confident going to the USC game, and they kind of laid an egg and then turned it on in the second half. But they come off a bye week. You got to go into Madison against Wisconsin, and you got to step on their throat early and often and just hold them down and just say, hey, listen, we're a team to be reckoned with, right? We're a top 3 team in the country right now. We're undefeated. Can't look ahead to Ohio State next week. Everybody's looking to that game right now. November 2nd, Penn State, Ohio State, 2 top 5 teams, right? Like, that's what you're looking for. Atmosphere in Happy Valley, going back to your point, because I'm looking forward to hopefully hosting a home playoff game for them as well, because these atmospheres are going to be everything in these 5 through 8 teams, right? And so whenever you got Penn State at Wisconsin, night game, Big Ten game, it's a trap game. It is setting up to be a trap game. But I'm James Franklin. I am hammering that. We are focused on being 1-0 this week. Focus at the task at hand.
You really see the DNA of these teams when you look at Penn State and they go on the road and they ultimately go out and perform and play like they're supposed to, and they do what they're supposed to. They're not looking ahead. That's, to me, when you get a little inside view of what this team is made of. Texas, we all thought they were going to play great. They didn't show up, right? Well, now we're going to get a real picture of how this team responds, how their leaders show up, how Coach Sark and this team is built to figure out a way to put that behind and move forward. So college football is right in this little area of there's several teams that are pretty good, but it's all about continuing to get to the 12-team playoff. And then when you get there, like you said, find a way to get hot, because that's all that matters. The best team's going to win it all.
You said something that I find very interesting, because, listen, I think maturity is always in question in college football, right? Like in the NFL, if it's a home game and it's a primetime division game, Thursday night football, Cardinals, Seahawks for the division, right? Like, the home team's going to show up. Like, no
doubt.
The interesting thing in college football, more often than not, is they let the emotions and the crowd and the atmosphere kind of almost become like a weight on their shoulders when they play at home sometimes, right? Like, I've noticed that so many times over the years. You hype up this big whiteout game at Penn State, night game, Ohio State's coming to town, Michigan's coming to town, all this stuff, and before you look, it's 21-0 Ohio State at the half, and you're like, what just happened? Like, there's penalties, there's all these uncharacteristic things that play into the fact that the pressure of all of the stuff that comes on you as a college kid, and now you're sitting in front of a crazy atmosphere.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I just go back to the Texas-Georgia game. People forget Georgia's played in some incredible matchups over the last 3, 4, 5 years. Like, these guys who are the older guys at Georgia, this was another game to them. Okay, correct. They've been in national championships. They've been in SEC championships. They've played in all those matchups throughout the year. And they've won more games than anybody else. Okay, this was Texas kind of first time in this big. We let the emotions get too this. We're throwing trash on the field because of a bad call. It doesn't look great. Hey, but they did get it overturned, which is kind of crazy. I don't know about all that. But listen, that was one of the wildest things I've ever seen at a game.
Dude, I mean, the fact that they overturned.
And then all of a sudden from the student section, it's just launch says who can throw their beer can the farthest. And it's just everywhere. And then Sark starts walking on the field saying, stop, fans, stop. I think Texas is going to get a delay of game penalty. This is crazy. Everybody sees it. We got the biggest jumbotron in the world up there on constant replay. Everybody's like, boo. Boo! Spurs a couple years ago, getting on the mic and telling people to hey, behave yourselves, act be classy. We're not gonna boo and yell and chill out.
We stop all the booing, let these guys play. It's got no class. It's not who we are. Knock off the booing.
There was so much time elapsed in this whole deal, and the referees got together. You hear Herb Street saying, if they're talking about the water bottles and beer cans being thrown on the field, or we're talking at me on the back, we got this call changed. Yes, let's go. And it was the wildest scene. The fans, the momentum change right here should have won us the game. I mean, we should have figured it out at this point. We get the ball at the 9-yard line. We do score, but then we don't ever just fully figure it out in the fourth quarter. But You spot Georgia 20 points in this game, it's hard to come back from. I mean, it's just hard.
It's the biggest thing, right? In any heavyweight battle, you just cannot, like, it doesn't matter what it is. You're in a top 10 matchup, you cannot spot the other team 10 points, even 14 points, whatever. It's like, because it changes the whole mindset of the entire team. Coordinator's now in full panic mode. He's throwing the ball. Your entire game plan's out the window. You're not running the ball. You're not balanced. You're not doing all the things that got you there. And now you're sitting there, you're pressing, and all you're trying to do is get chunk plays and pass plays, and you're trying to get back in this game. And it's like, it just throws your entire team off.
Yeah. AQ, do you think this creates a bad precedence for all the student sections in all these great stadiums across the country?
I kind of love it. Like, this is the one thing that, like, I always missed in the NFL, right? Like, and the NFL is so corporate, right? When you get there, it's so corporate, and it's clients, and people are spending all this money to get suites, and there's not a full tilt fan base unless you're in your Pittsburghs, your Clevelands, your Baltimores, right? Your Seattles, like the ones that really take the pro game serious. So college football, these people have loved this school for 40, 50 years. Like, this is everything. Most of the kids in the student section have some, connection, whether it's a parent went there or whether it's a grandparent. They've been thinking UT football forever, right? And so when you see this, the passion and everything, like, it really comes out in college football. That's what I love about it. Yeah, like, should you not throw things on the field? Yeah, maybe. But it's also like, hey, listen, referees, you're not immune to everything either. And, like, you made a mistake, and we're going to let you know, and we got a real passionate base. Every once in a while, I don't hate this. I really don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, like, I'm all for class. I'm all for, like, integrity. But they saw something that was blatantly, obviously wrong, right? The refs got it wrong. And they started throwing trash. Do I want them to throw trash? No. Like, but I'm with you. This is what you get when you go to these, experienced stadiums, the SEC stadiums, the South. These fans are on top of you. First of all, they're on their feet the entire game. They're yelling, they're screaming, and they see something they don't like. Like, I don't love it, but at the same time, if the clock doesn't stop and this doesn't, like, take place, this doesn't get reversed. You heard Kirby Smart in his press conference say, is this what we're going to do now? You don't like a call? Let's just endanger our kids by throwing stuff on the field, and, like, then we're going to, change the whole play. Like, I get where he's coming from as a coach, but I love the passion, the energy, the emotion of a big game at your stadium, at home. Like, you want to win that just as bad as the players. It's awesome. Heck, Kirby Smart pushed a player last week. Nobody said anything.
Bingo. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's easy to throw stones real quick.
Pushed a player an opposing player on the sidelines last week. Nobody really talked about it. You want to talk about emotions? You can talk all you want about our student section throwing water bottles on the field. The emotions are high for everybody, including the fans. That's why it's so fun to go to a top 5 matchup like this, or to go to a traditional historical stadium where he's like, this fan base is just a rabid for their team. Okay, like, the emotions are high for everybody. Let's understand that. Should we throw stuff on the field? No. Okay, no, like that, like, not over and over. Like, I get this a little bit. It's a little outrageous, but at the same time, like, everybody wants to win, and you see it from coaches, you see it from players, and you see it from fans. That's the beauty of college football.
And that's what makes it fun, right? Like, at the end of the day, that's what makes it fun, is the emotions, right? When refs try and take that out, when a opposing coach tries to take it out, especially when the week before he's pushing somebody, then what if that player then comes back and punches Kirby Smart in the face? Then are we going to sit there and be like, oh, well, it's the player's fault? Well, don't put your hands on me, right? Like, at the end of the day, there's a lot of emotional stuff, high emotions in high stake games, right? And so when you see that also applies to the fan base, right? And so when that happens, I'm just happy that they got it right? Like, this whole thing that it constantly comes back for me is that the referees are constantly putting their flags on the ground too much, and it's ruining it. I've watched far too many holding calls that weren't holding calls bring back 40-yard runs over the weekend. I can't watch it anymore. I can't watch an offensive receiver run through a DB and then put the flag on the ground and say it's defensive pass interference. I can't watch it anymore. And so I think there's 100,000 fans in almost every big stadium in the country that feels the same way I do.
It was crazy. The emotions, you're right. You nailed it. And it's being able to handle those moving forward. And that's why I think there's going to be a couple 1 or 2 loss teams that sneak their way in that are able to take the experience from the season, be able to take those emotions and the lessons learned and not let that phase them and get hot at the end. And we'll see what happens.